part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The 1-1 pitch. A swing and a drive to deep right. Away back. Goal!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Guardians of the Land MLB Podcast. I'm your host, John Telich. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, May the 16th, right before the Guardians begin that series in Chicago against the White Sox. And then after that, they will head to New York to take on the Mets. They are 19-21 so far in the season, and that's 3 games behind first-place Minnesota. The Tigers of Detroit are a half game behind the Guardians. And those White Sox, well, they're 14-28. They are a major disappointment, and they are 9 games out of first. Big treat today. I sat down with 6-time Indians All-Star Sandy Alomar Jr. He's in the team's Hall of Fame, rightly so. As you also know, he is the current first base coach on the staff for Terry Francona and the Guardians. He also substituted for Mr. Francona when Tito had his health issues. We talked about a whole bunch of things. We talked about his Cleveland career, the ups and the downs. We talked about how he feels there is some kind of a connection between this year's young team and the early 90s when he had the likes of Carlos Baerga in town and Kenny Lofton came into the fold and so on and so forth. He talked about Albert Bell, his incredible dedication to his craft. Also had a backstory about that whole Fernando Vina incident. Who was the man that instigated that in so many ways? How did Mike Hargrove have a role in getting Sandy Alomar Jr. to Cleveland? We talked about the 95 and the 97 teams that went to the World Series, going 6 games against the Braves and losing, and of course the heartbreak of Game 7 in 97, the Jose Mesa meltdown. We also talked about how that affected Mesa after the series as well. We chatted about the new rules in baseball here in 2023. We just had a lot of laughs, had a great time. I hope you enjoy this interview. Here is Sandy Alomar Jr. Sandy, so great to be on with you on the podcast. And, you know, we go back so many years. It was after the 1989 season, you were traded here in one of the best trades in Cleveland Indians history. Take me back to that date. What was it like for you as a young kid getting the word that you're going to Cleveland?
Well, the funny part about this is that there's a few people in the Cleveland organization that had to do with this trade that have something to do with it. One is Mike Hargrove, and the other one is Louis Isaac.
Oh, sure.
And the reason I say that is because when I played winter ball, I was playing winter ball for the. At that time, I was playing for Ponce, but I was playing before with Santurce, which Louis Isaac was one of the current coach at that time for the Cleveland Indians, was a coach for the Santurce Crabbers. He always loved the way I caught, and he knew that I was a prospect. Then when I was with Las Vegas with Padres organization. I played against Grover. Grover was in Colorado Springs with the Indians. I played against him. And there's a lot of track record because Grover played with my father. And I remember one time that I was the 1988 minor league player of the year, Sporting New minor league player of the year. And then 89, I came in, I started slow because it sent me down. Like I was kind of a little bit bummed out that I didn't make the big league club, but I knew they had Benito Santiago there. And I kind of started like real slow. And Grover was playing against me, and I didn't have good at bats. And he called me the next day in batting practice, even though he was my rival manager. He goes like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I go, "What's up?"
What's up?
I say, "You're too good of a player. You gotta get your head out of your ass." And I'm like, whoa, knowing that he played with my dad and they had there's our relationship, he cared about it. So in that winter of '89, I ended up being minor league player of the year again. Grover.
And you're sitting there going, "What more do I have to do? I'm minor league player of the year 2 years in a row, and this guy Santiago, I'm never going to get past him."
So we knew one of the guys was going to be moved. I knew I was a cheaper guy, and Benito was a proven catcher. So I knew that either I was going to get traded, was going to be with San Diego, or he was going to get traded. But I figured that I didn't know, never in a million years thought I was going to be to Cleveland. But Grover had a lot to do with it because in the winter meeting, he was pushing for that. He was coaching first base for the Indians at that time. And when I got traded, I was like super ecstatic. I know I wanted to play for the Padres, but I was super ecstatic that somebody was going to give me an opportunity to play in the big leagues. I remember the first Tri-Fest when I came, and it was like 20 degrees. I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy over here. And I didn't know anything about Cleveland. The only thing I knew about Cleveland was that I knew when I played winter ball, there was few players that belonged to the Cleveland Indians organization, like Ron Pruitt, Charlie Spikes. I remember.
Gosh. Wow.
They went and play winter ball, and I knew that Luis Isa was in the organization, so that's the only thing I knew about it.
Wow, that was it.
Yeah.
But yet you grew up in the game of baseball. We all know that your dad, Sandy Alomar Jr., was in the game, and you've been a baseball lifer.
Correct.
And so take me back to your childhood, just what that was like, and then we can get you into the majors and get you to Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, that was an incredible childhood because not only the opportunity to come here and watch Major League Baseball and grow up in a Major League locker room from having a former father to play Major League Baseball, but also going to winter ball games in Puerto Rico was crucial because at that time, in that era, Major League players went to play winter ball to get better.
Yep.
There was no like this, I'm going to condition, they go play all year round. That's why the development of the player was accelerated at that time, during that time, because the player went play with good competition in winter ball. And I got a chance to see Tony Perez, Frank Robinson. He was the manager for my dad in winter ball too.
Oh, wow.
Juan Beniquez, Eli Rodriguez, Louis Isaac. I had the chance to see also Gary Carter play winter ball. So all these people, all these Major League Baseball players were playing winter ball in Puerto Rico to develop.
Did you have major league aspirations as a kid, or you just said, I love this game of baseball and I'm just going to keep playing it, whether or not I get drafted or those types of things? We'll let it nature take its course.
The last part you say was it. I was in love with the game, but it was not. I wasn't thinking about, am I going to be a baseball player? Because baseball was there in front of me all the time.
Yeah.
My brother was different. He was just all in. Like I was more worried about getting good grades and stuff like that. He was more worried about becoming a Major League Baseball player. So
okay.
I did love the game. I kind of left it for a little bit. I did other things because I want to enjoy my childhood, but at the end of the day, the passion that we have as a family for the game kind of brought me back in. Didn't know I was going to be a Major League Baseball player, but I felt like the opportunity was there.
Yeah, and you just took advantage of it because you had the skills and you got better and better as time went on.
Yeah, I was a little bit of a late bloomer.
Play other sports?
I play volleyball. I did taekwondo. I rode dirt bikes. I enjoyed my childhood.
Cool.
And I had to work too to buy my products. Like I delivered the papers. I used to shine shoes, work at my dad's gas station in order to buy my dirt bike.
Oh, cool.
So my dad did not say, you want a dirt bike, you got to get it yourself. So, but I used to get up early to deliver the newspaper when people used to have the newspaper get delivered to their homes.
Yeah, those days seem like they were years and years ago. We're of the same ilk because I was a paper boy myself. Did you ever get those days where you go, did I deliver to that house? I can't remember. I forgot whether or not I gave them the paper.
I tell you what. One time I was delivering. I used to get up. My dad used to get me up 5:30 in the morning because I had to be in school by 8. So I used to get up 5:30. It took me like a half an hour to get ready. I used to roll those paper and put them in a. Remember those the Coca-Cola those loops, those plastic loops?
Yeah.
I used to put those newspaper in a loop and have it back. And I used to go to his house all the time. There was a stray dog that used to chase me all the time. I used to panic all the time. So I had to start gaining speed now and I had to shoot the paper a couple of times. I overshoot because the dog was chasing me. But at the end of the day, it was fun times, and I ended up going back to baseball because the passion was calling, and I was a little bit of a late bloomer, but at the end of the day, I got it done.
That's cool. I guess that was just preparing you for when you were crouched behind the plate and you had to throw some guy out at second base.
So I really was. My dad always preached you should be a catcher because you're like you're basically like a natural. You have a natural ability to block balls. For some reason, as a kid, I never was afraid of the ball.
Oh, wow.
So one of the Christmas he got me. I remember I idolized Thurman Munson because he played with my dad with the Yankees, and I like his catching gear, orange and black. So for Christmas, I ordered a catching gear that had the orange and black. My dad got it for me, and that was it. I was hooked to catching ever since. I was like 7 years old. I became a catcher since then, and I love the position. And it really, if you play catcher since you're in little leagues, you fight hard and you work hard, you can become a major league catcher.
We'll get to maybe how you work with you're working with the catcher for the Guardians right now, who's got to get better at blocking balls in play. But let's stay back where you're a young guy. You're getting, you get signed. You become a major leaguer. You're minor league player of the year for a couple of years in a row. You get the shot to go to Cleveland with the Indians. Now, Lofton would come later, but not much later. But it was basically you and Carlos that were the early parts of the team, and then Charlie comes along as well.
I was just welcoming the opportunity. I wasn't looking at what the standings. I wanted to make a difference everywhere I go, or everywhere I went, I should say, because the last 3 years in the minor league system, we won 2 championships. So I had the kind of like the winning attitude already, coming from San Diego, and Carlos Baerga was the same. He had the passion for the game, and in reality, Carlos was one of the top prospects for the San Diego organization because he was a great hitter. Defensively, he was kind of iffy. He didn't have a position third or second, but he kind of developed into a great second baseman afterwards. But his bat was special.
Yeah,
so coming with somebody that I was familiar with, coming with me over here, also Chris James came over, it made it a lot easier for me.
Okay, and so you guys come along, and the groundwork is starting to be laid there for the franchise. John Hart comes into the picture, and then more and more guys come in. Lofton by the trade. Charlie, Jim Thome comes on board. What was the atmosphere like as you kept adding those pieces and got better and better?
Honest to God, it reminded me of now.
Okay,
it
well, I
of
wanted
this
to
group,
draw that conclusion.
This group of guys, they're confident, they're like kind of cocky a little bit. And I used to look around and say, dude, we're not winning yet. We haven't, I remember in 93, this guy had a swagger. And out there yelling at the pitcher and stuff like that. I guess my people are going to get drilled on this team. But they brought that swagger. Teams knew that we could run. Teams knew that we were exciting.
Yeah.
And the one thing that got us better is like what Tito Francona does now. Is just like we made teams play to our speed because we were young.
Yeah.
And when other teams,
you're like a basketball team that fast breaks all the time.
Yeah. So we were that. Major League Baseball didn't know that then. Other than the St. Louis Cardinals. Every time St. Louis come in, everybody go, get ready, strap it on because these guys are going to run.
Yeah.
And Montreal Expos too, with Tim Raines and stuff like that. But and Andre Dawson and we built a team that was like very athletic and with power. The pitching was coming around, but at the end of the day, the transformation and the structure of the team, it was great planning.
It was so much fun covering and because you guys you're getting better as years went on. You added more and more pitchers that the late Steve Olin, of course, I mentioned Thome. Then Manny comes into the picture. Of course, Albert as well develops. What a collection of characters!
Incredible. Let's add Omar Vizquel to that.
I forgot about Omar.
To that group. He's a major character.
Well, he came in 94.
Yeah, correct.
And, boom, right away.
Yeah, he was a big part. Him and Kenny are the two igniters in our team. I mean, we talk about Manny. We talk about Manny and Thome and Albert Bell being the power guys. Yeah, the one thing, you just don't win games just doing one thing. Okay. You have to be diverse. You have to be able to run, create runs, and we were that team. We were able to beat you different ways. When Kenny Lofton came to our team, you can see that the way the opposition was pitching to us, they got disrupted. So he caused a lot of different ways of pitching. Guys are trying to rush. They make a lot of mistakes, and Manny and Albert and Thome benefited out of that.
They really did. But you just mentioned that he was a disruptor.
Yeah.
And you've got the young team now, there's some kids in that lineup that can do kind of the same thing. Certainly not at Kenny Lofton's
Yeah,
level.
absolutely. The only problem is we need to get on base.
Yeah, right.
So we don't have the amount of power we had then to create damage right away.
Right.
So like in the past, you don't want to walk a guy like Kenny, okay? Because Kenny get on base, steal second, steal 10, you have power. And if Kenny can steal, we still have power.
Hit it over the
and
fence.
it's gonna, like Albert and Tommy and those guys, gonna get better pitches. So like now we do have some power, but the guy started very slow. You seen now Naylor, he homered in 3 straight games. He was kind of like in a major slump, but now he's coming out of it. And we just hope that now we can start recreating what we did last year.
Yeah, it seems like, and we can get into this as we go further too, about the aspect of maybe this, was a weekend that you'll look back on and say that maybe some things were laid, groundwork was laid that you're going to follow up on. But you're back there. It's in the mid '90s. The ballpark is built. It's just a whole new vibe in the city of Cleveland. You're no longer playing in that big old dump, if you want to call it that. What was it like knowing that you guys were in the beginning, you're starting the renaissance of baseball in Cleveland, which meant a new ballpark and a new vibe and obviously winning baseball.
And sellout games.
That
was incredible to come into the ballpark. You have a playoff atmosphere every single day.
Yeah.
You got 43,000 people every day. And we were young, exciting team. When we got some pieces that kind of help us push to that line, like Eddie Murray, Dennis Martinez, Tony Pena, which I really enjoy playing with, and Oro Hershiser. So those guys were winners in different organizations. So they showed us how to turn that corner at this level. We had that attitude in the minor leagues. At least I did, and Carlos, we play in championship team, in minor league team, but this is completely different monster. Those guys were excellent. One of the things that I really preach about is you can prepare physically, you can prepare, you can have a great nutrition, but mentally is the part that you have to prepare the most, and you have to invest in that. And Eddie Murray, Dennis Martinez, Oro Hershiser, and Tony Pena were like those guys that were the enforcers. Hey, you got to get ready for this game, and you got to do this, you got to do that, and they kind of guide us along the way.
We'll talk a little bit more about how those old guys, as it were, molded you guys into winning ball players. We're going to take a break here. Guardians of the Land MLB Podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. Back with Sandy Alomar Jr. coming up. Hang in there.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Sandy, so you got all these sage ball players. Eddie Murray, historical figure, obviously Oro Hershiser. What were some of the ways that they kind of got in your heads or at least taught you to play more and more winning baseball?
No, we used to play baseball, and we were always like playing 7-inning games, and after that we collapsed. It's those 2 innings, those championship innings that you have to win in order to be in postseason. So they were kind of like more forced you to prepare more. Like basically you have to go through the report, check it out to the last minute. And Eddie is like always telling you, oh, this guy does this and that. You know what the guy's going to do to you? So basically get into plan of what the guy's going to do to you before you get into that box. Don't just go out there and just hack. So you have to have a plan according to how the guy is going to pitch you. I mean, obviously it's something natural, but they were more like into details of pitch by pitch.
Okay.
And that's the part that when you're young, you tend to lack at times. So that you don't kind of review everything they had done to you in the past and stuff like that.
So back then, this organization was getting more and more into the numbers, the metrics. This team does this towards you. Let's keep that in mind. And it's so much more prevalent nowadays. I would assume that you're even more detail-oriented as you guys prepare these young players for games.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much data, instant data right now that it's kind of like at times I call it paralysis by analysis.
Okay, well,
because
you're not the first.
Yeah, so there's so much you can throw to a player. I think you have to kind of limit the amount of information right now that you give a player and simplify it to the way that they can understand it, and that it gets filtered from the front office, the people that do the analytics, and also the coach and the coaches to the players, obviously. But you have to cherry pick which one is going to help that player at that particular time. There's so many things the player has to do to prepare that you just don't want to put, especially a player that are kind of like going through turbulence. Like you don't want to put him through a situation that they have to overthink.
I see. So overthinking is not a good deal, and you're so right. Analysis by paralysis. My gosh, I watch the NFL on Sundays, and you think, can they prepare any more? There's not enough hours in the day for how much they want to prepare, but yet you still have to go out there and make the tackle, block the guy, catch the ball, throw the ball, and maybe we get a little bit too crazy with the analysis. All right, we gotta get back to 1995 because that was such a fun year. How did you guys coexist? You had so many different personalities, of which the biggest one that everybody, kind of like the 900-pound monster in the building that we had to think about a lot was Albert, because he was a very unique, dynamic individual. How'd you deal with him, and how did you police each other?
The thing about it is in the locker room, we got along very well, and we didn't have any issues. And Albert, you hardly ever saw Albert in the locker room because Albert had his routine. He was mostly in the cage and preparing and things that I was talking about. He always kind of like limit the doubts he's going to have through the game. Albert used to chart his pitches, every single pitch. I remember if you remember that incident he had with Bud Shaw. That Bud Shaw was looking at his locker to see if he sees those cue cards, and Albert busted him. I had to interview in that one because Albert wanted to kick his butt. I'm like, Albert, you're not going nowhere with this. This is not a good, these people, you just want to explore you. They want to see what makes you thrive. So he understood. He was never in the locker room. We never had issues with him. He threw a tantrum here and there, but he was just like a motivated guy that wanted to produce, and that's how he was. He was a driven person. But when it came to preparation, he was one of the best I ever seen. Him, Manny, Tommy, those guys were always grinding to prepare to put in good at bats. Now, did Albert have incidents off the field and some in the field, like he threw a ball to a fan that the fan had a warrant for his arrest also? And
do you remember that day?
Yeah, I remember that day.
Sandy, I was at the TV station after the game, and the fan calls me and says, I'm the guy that got hit by Albert Bell's ball. The fan was still drunk. I mean, let's be honest. This guy was egging him on. He was egging on a guy who was an alcoholic, who was trying to stop drinking, who was trying to change his whole life. And I thought the guy went overboard, but obviously Albert did what he did. And that could have been a super ugly moment.
And then I found out, and the guy had surgery too. He had stitches, and
when he showed me his chest, he came to the TV station and showed me his chest, took his shirt off, and right in between his breast you saw all the stitches of the baseball. I mean, that's how hard Albert threw the ball. He's very lucky he didn't kill that guy.
Yeah, so the reality thing is, I know that it's kind of like a difficult situation to see a player throwing a ball, but all fun aside, Albert, you hit the cutoff man for once. So we were like, so you could have killed that guy if you hit him in the head.
They didn't get Albert Bell for how he played the field. I mean, that one year he had, the 50 and 50, and he wasn't the MVP. I mean, that probably says all you need to know about what the media thought of this guy. He was a tremendous talent.
Yeah, I don't think Albert cares about MVPs. He cares about being the most productive player he could be and help the team win. I don't think that Albert, if you talk to him right now, I've seen him a few times. He's completely a different guy. He's more a family guy now, and he's grown out of that. But he was just a complete driven guy. He was like, I say, man, you out there trying to destroy that ball. If that's what it takes, should I get angry too? Because he was good.
So there were some celebrated issues, when he busted up an infielder, in one game because he was in his way.
That wasn't Milwaukee.
He was always making a point.
Okay, let me go back to that play. Okay,
did you instigate that?
No, you know who instigated that play was Eddie Murray. Okay. And speaking of that, so like the first inning, I think it was the first inning. That the same play happened. Chopper, he always taught as a runner that when it's a chopper, you either stop, don't let the guy tag you, or just like run through it because you don't want the guy or fall down, so you don't want the guy to touch it, then throw the ball to first base. You got to disrupt the fielder.
Got it.
So that play happened. Albert stops, Vina comes in, tag him, and then throws the first base double play.
Happened earlier, right.
2 innings, he got to the dugout, and Eddie goes, you don't let that guy tag you like that. You got to make sure you like either slide or knock his ball down. He can't be tagging you like that. Unbelievable. Same play. I always say either Eddie Murray must be like his guru mental guy because he was the hitter and he had the same chopper. So I'm like, is he teaching this guy a lesson? But the same spot, Vina comes in all full of confidence and Albert just plowed him, like knock him out. I think he gave him a concussion because the guy was kind of punch drunk after that.
Yeah,
he was like we got into a fight after that. I think he got drilled. But there was some back and forward and the bench clear and stuff like that. But that was all like taught by Eddie Murray because he didn't want Albert to get double up like that.
So we go down the rest of the year and you guys get to the World Series. First time in so many years. It was phenomenal for the city. To draw the Braves in the World Series, how difficult of a draw was it given the great pitching that they had?
I mean, we still thought that we could beat them. We knew they had great pitching, just like the command that they had and the strike zone was a little wide.
Yeah.
I know the umpires. One time I asked the guy, that ball's like 3 or 4 inches outside. I mean, nobody can hit that, but you guys can do the same thing. I said we're trying to hit the spots, but we don't get there. Like the ball runs back to the zone, they hit it. But they had an incredible command, and Maddox and Glavine. When they have a wide zone and they knew how far they could go, it was going to be very difficult. I remember seeing some of our guys swinging and the helmet falling off because they couldn't reach the pitches outside. And
they felt they had to swing at those because those were being called
strikes.
Correct.
I believe that I believe if the strike zone is like it's now, we win that World Series. If it's like it's now, because you have to throw the ball in 17 inches. Not like you can throw 22, 23. It's hard to cover both sides of the plate.
Yeah.
And not taking nothing away from Glavine and Maddox, but it's a little bit more difficult to pitch now.
Yeah.
You have to throw the ball over the plate.
How would you like playing now with the game sped up and you wouldn't have to be crouching as long as you were? Or would that even matter?
It's part of adaptation. I mean, the younger you are, the better. Because I think that right now, if you're a pitcher, you almost have to train like a boxer.
Yeah.
3-minute round, like
rounds, yeah.
And otherwise,
skip rope, all that stuff.
Unbelievable. Otherwise, your heart rate is going to be up for a long period of time. I mean, for a short period of time, but it's going to be a higher heart rate. I don't think that the older you get, is the more difficult, especially if you don't train to catch up with the clock. It's a little bit difficult, but it can be done.
Okay. So you guys lose in 6 games back in '95. Were you happy just to get there in the sense that, this hadn't happened in the city in a zillion years, and you guys were the first team in many moons to get them to the World Series? What was that mentality?
So we were not happy to get there.
Lose, obviously.
Yeah, we wanted to win the World Series because you don't even know when you're going to get there again. Yeah, I didn't realize we were going to be back in '97, but we knew that we had a good team that we could repeat in '96, '97, and '98. That window was there. It's hard to get there, man. It's so hard. It's like, I mean, we were ecstatic that we made it, and we made it at 5-6 games against Atlanta Braves. They were a stacked team too, but No, we weren't completely thrilled to lose it, but yeah, we were ecstatic that we gave the city and our fans an opportunity to be in a World Series.
So what happened the next year? I can't imagine a team that got to the World Series would get bounced in the first round, but there you went.
You had 3 bad days,
Yeah,
or and you're out.
that's the 5.
Yeah, remember I think that we played against Baltimore, right?
Right.
Yeah, Baltimore was stacked too. They were as good as we were.
Yeah.
And they had a great series against us and then bounced us out.
That's crazy. Because then the next year, as we go to 97, on your way to the World Series with a totally different team. Marquise Grissom's there in center field. What a tremendous pro he was. I'm sure you would say that as well. But so you get to the World Series again. You go past Baltimore. You beat Baltimore to get to the World Series. Everything was going your way.
John, we played 3 World Series that year. We played the Yankees.
Yeah,
Nobody gave us a chance. I'm not even talking about my at-bat. I'm just saying that we played 3 tough teams, like the Yankees. Going to Baltimore, we this is gonna be a tough task. I think when we got to the World Series, some of our guys were spent because not physically, I say more mentally, because you know how
down mentally.
It's just like after you beat Baltimore, everybody said, "Oh, these people are going to win." I mean, the Marlins came in a different direction. They were the wild card team, and they came in and they kind of shocked the world. So the Braves got the same medicine that they giving other people. The strike zone was huge in that game. With Livar Hernandez was pitching, there was balls that were foot outside. They were being called by Eric Craig.
Yeah,
and by the late Eric Craig, actually he passed away. Those balls that he was throwing to Fred McGriff, Kenny Lofton, those guys, it's embarrassing. Those balls were this far outside. So he goes to show you that 95 was kind of similar, but not the same. But the Marlins had good pitching, and they had they have kind of like an intriguing offense. They have speed, they have power throughout the lineup too.
Yeah, they were a very good team, and as franchises go, they were young, they made it there, and you have to give them credit because then they also kind of got rid of all their assets, and then they got back again a few years later. So you got to give them credit. All right, let's go to Game 7. I mean, you've certainly spoke of it for years. We were down there interviewing you guys. Just that 9th inning was just so tough.
Yeah, it was. When you have the lead, that you bring your closer in, you pretty much think you're gonna win. You're gonna win the World Series. You gotta be positive about it. It's an unfortunate day for Jose. He didn't have his command. He didn't have it. And I don't want to sit here and criticize Jose, because Jose is one of the reasons why we got there.
100%.
Saving over 40 games. I mean, without Jose, we would not make it to the World Series. He just had a tough night that night. He was spiking the fastball. His slider was flat. So he basically was kind of like grinding it out there, and they took advantage of it.
They did, and obviously they won the World Series. That affected him a lot, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think it did. Mentally, I mean, everybody started trashing him and, not appreciating the things he did. And in reality, Jose did so many good things for this organization and his family that he don't deserve that. And I almost see it like what's the first baseman for the Cubs? The ball went between his legs.
Buckner.
Yep. I almost see it like Buckner. When the Cubs won the World Series, they brought him in to throw the first pitch or forgive him. We got to win the World Series so we can forget Jose, I guess, the fans.
Yeah.
But I think other things that happened is that him and Omar had that thing going with hit by pitches, and I don't know. I just tell Omar, I say, Omar, you got to keep that down. You got to stop. It started by him yelling at Jose one time, joking around from the bench, and then Jose took it personally and started drilling him. But I mean, I think that they're over that.
Yeah, I think they are. How is he doing? Do you ever hear from him? Talk to him at all? I mean,
I talked to Jose a few times. Yeah, he's fine with his family. He has a farm in Dominican, and one of his kids is playing, Jose Jr., and he's a pitcher. But yeah, he's fine. He don't lose any sleep.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was quite the experience for me and cameraman Herb Thomas when we went down to the Dominican after the '95 season, and we were there for winter ball. We hung out with Jose and his wife. We hung out with a lot of the ball players, and I think that's the first time we saw Terry Francona. That was his first stint as a Winter League manager. He's becoming a manager, as it were. So go back a way. But I can still remember going to the little ball field and the home that Jose grew up in. Very humbling experience to see what it meant to him to get out of that area and to make a name for himself in Major League Baseball. It showed me just how precious baseball can be for some young people.
Yeah, it's incredible. All these Latin American countries, like Puerto Rico, is similar to some kids come out from nowhere, little bitty towns at ballparks full of rocks, and you're taking ground balls there. And if you could take a ground ball there, you can come to a carpet later on. Like Omar Vizquel, he can tell you the stories because those guys are driven to get out of it, give their family a better life.
Yeah, they really are. I remember being watching a game and covering one game down there, and Sammy Sosa was playing in the Winter League, and interviewing him, and how he said, my number one goal before I got to the bigs was to be able to build a concrete home for my mother. It was very big because we came from very modest circumstances, and this was my opportunity to do that for my family. And obviously he did so much more, and that's what baseball has been able to do for a lot of kids from the Latin countries.
Absolutely, 100%. It's an avenue for them to go and support their families. And a lot of these kids that come from those countries, they do their best to learn English, and they prepare themselves prior to get drafted or signed to become a Major League Baseball player. They give everything they have. If they don't make it, it's because they weren't good enough, but they try.
Well, certainly one of the greatest success stories from down in the Dominican is the star of your team right now, is Jose Ramirez. What he was able to do to even get noticed, to get a very small signing bonus and make it to the big leagues. What's it been like just dealing with a guy of his caliber and his determination while you're here on the coaching staff for the Guards?
Phenomenal, man. He is the guy you want to build a team around because his assignment and how he hustle, and he is a leader by example. If you're gonna come play for the Cleveland Guardians and you don't run balls out, then you take a look at your leader right there. Everybody has to follow that.
He'll let you know, man.
And that's why he'll let you know too. Hey, you got to run that ball out. And it helps to have a young team to do that. I explain to people it's not sustainable for everybody to run 100% all the time if you're getting older. But if you have a young team, you have to do it, man. Everybody's trying to model the Cleveland Guardians right now. You see teams trying to be going young and stealing bases and stuff like that. So Jose was a perfect guy to have here for many years to lead our team.
And it's amazing what he did, as far as the contract signing, the deal before last year. Couple of numbers to throw at you. 17 kids made their big league debut last year, already 5 as we sit here after the series that you guys just finished, where Naylor hit the 3 straight home runs. So you're already on your way. You probably won't reach 17. That was kind of crazy. But what was it like to every day, it would seem, be a new kid there that might be standing on first base near you?
Yeah, that was like, well, where's this in the 90s? I think the roster construction drove it that way too. The way they constructed the roster, that you have to go to the guys you have down there. And, they had ability too. And and they brought excitement. And we're not going to be a team that's going to blow people's door and ask for trades. We have a good farm system that we depend on. And whenever we need something, we just go down there and get it. And other teams would love to have some of the players we have. Bybee and Logan Allen have been so exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting. It's incredible how exciting now. Even now, Fry, which is a more veteran minor league player that hasn't played in a big league before, getting an opportunity to come here as a utility player. But this organization will give you opportunities, man. You got to take advantage of it.
You got to. Well, you said earlier about the some of the analogies that you have between this young group and then the young group that you recall when you got traded here and helped build the future for the Cleveland Indians back then. You got a lot of hungry kids that know they might even have to go back down once or twice, but Tito is the type of guy that they want to do well for.
Yeah, he's absolutely 100%. He tried to explore all the avenues and give you kind of like early experience. That way, get your feet wet
Okay.
He just want to throw you in the fire, and then you like all of a sudden you're in the postseason. Like you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
He say, yeah, go out there in like lesser pressure situations, see what you can do, and get your feet wet. And have as an organization, you also have an idea if these players are ready or not. I mean, some of these kids, at times put pressure on themselves, but it's part of the process. If you're gonna come to the big leagues, that's gonna be there all the time. No. It's not gonna disappear. Let's put it that way. So like, you gotta simplify things for yourself.
Did you alter any of or take away some of your managerial persona to work with younger kids? How has that evolved? I know obviously you filled in for Tito when he has his health situations. You have experience. You've got a winning record as a manager. Did you blend any of that stuff in with how you coach these kids these days?
I prepare.
What was your philosophy?
My philosophy is I want the player to, at the end of the day, to coach himself. I want to help him to coach himself. You don't have to depend on the coach 100%. If you coach the player to able to recognize the mistakes, so when they come in, you don't have to talk to them all the time. They know, they tell you. Like Yan Gomes was unbelievable. Yan Gomes to come back and say, yeah, I know what you're going to say. I did this.
He could read your mind. Yeah.
Because we already had that relationship. Roberto Perez was the same thing. Like one single word, he figured out, oh yeah, I figured out I did this wrong because the result was this. So I take a passion on having a relationship with a player, and for him to understand what his limitations and what his what strengths are, and what he's going to be thriving on, and things to expect. And to prepare yourself with a pitcher 100% is huge. But you also have to get the guy mechanically ready to go for a game so he can compete.
I see. We mentioned earlier, we talked a little bit about the rules changes. Let's go into them a little bit more in depth. The pitch clock. I mean, it seems like people have adapted for the most part.
Yeah, people have adapted. We're still learning on it. People come in, hey, how are you going to run the bases this year? Teams are going to vault to the jump, hop, and say, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to take bigger leads and go. So, like, it's giving us better result when you don't try to trick the game. So, eventually, when you start doing many other things that get too creative, you're going to make more mistakes. Mm-hmm. So, like, Tito doesn't like that stuff. He wants you to play the game the right way.
Okay.
And let's see where this takes us. I mean, so far we have an exit. We're having a lot of excitement and success running the bases. At times we're gonna make mistakes because the bases are bigger. Guys think they can get there quicker at times, and they take wrong routes. But at the end of the day, all we try to do is have the other team play to our speed. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna make more mistakes like that.
Has the biggest change actually been the fact that you can't have these crazy shifts, or no?
No, well. But if that was the biggest case, then guys should have hit the ball more in that hole. The averages haven't changed.
Okay.
I thought that many lefties were going to be able to have higher averages right now. We have gotten some base hits through those holes, and we have kept guys on first base to keep that hole open at times. But that's engagement is the key. That's engagement. Is gonna thrive for more stolen bases. He's gonna push for more stolen bases because now the runner can get a bigger lead.
I see. And again, we mentioned before the time. Everybody's adjusting to that for the most part, right? I mean, the 20 seconds or the 15.
We still have some hiccups. Yeah. We still have some hiccups. Like I told one day to Quantrill at the beginning. I say, listen, you have guys second and third. You still get to disengagement. If you start your heart rate starts speeding up. Step up, get another 20 seconds. It's not going to be called a ball because you still have two disengagement.
Yeah.
Now you cannot step off 2 more time because it's going to be a balk. Okay. So things like that, things understanding. Like I don't know if you saw Scherzer, kind of like things were getting speed up. At first in spring training, he liked it.
He was messing with the batters.
But that's what I was talking about. I mean, I don't know what's going through these people's mind. I mean, obviously that guy is probably a future Hall of Fame or whatever. But it's like it goes along with what Tito say. Don't change the way you play the game because you start creating different stuff. Now you're focusing on the clock and not focusing on the execution. So like that's the thing about it. Once your body start getting used to that, you have the tempo that you cannot leave the mound and you cannot leave the batter's box. You got to engage the pitcher in 8 seconds. Once you start going to that rhythm, then make sure that the PA guy, the music only lasts 7 seconds. That way you can get there in time not to get a pitch clock violation.
Okay.
Because that's what's happening sometimes. The guys are listening to the song, and by the time they get in, you have a tempo to get in. You look down. If you're not looking at the pitcher at 8 seconds, that's a strike.
I haven't spoken to Mike Hargrove. Have you had any contact with him? He would absolutely be dying as a ball player.
yeah.
I haven't talked to him.
Well, now with all the resources and everything that we have, conditioning, players come more conditioned, and there's no off season for the players anymore. They go do nutrition. Well, most of them. If you're responsible about your job, you will do it. But all these resources we have, it's easy for you to adapt to everything new. It's easier. Mm-hmm. Some people, like Jose Ramirez, really didn't like it at first, but now he's getting used to it.
Yeah.
And he's hitting 280. And he doesn't have the same amount of home runs, but he's still coming back from that hand injury.
Yeah.
So he'll catch up. But at the end of the day, you're playing 2 hours and 15 minutes game, man. You home with your family in 3 hours. That's crazy. It's like at first I was like complaining about it. I said, "Oh, this is not good," and I don't even know why they want to do it because they can't sell beer now. Like, it's gonna be less alcohol consumption, which is kind of less is better because they don't heckle you that much. But at the end of the day, when I start seeing and guys getting adapted to it, I said, "Wow." The minor league guys were telling us, "Hey,
yeah, they played it."
The minor league guys, they're having success with it because they like the Logan Allen, the Bobby, those guys did it last year.
Yeah.
So now they're here and they're up to speed. We are now getting the experience with it. And they said, you're not going to like it at first, but at the end of the day, I guarantee you're going to like it. And it's like, I think there's some things you have to change here and there, like the 8-second rule for the hitter to engage. The issue there that I have is the pitcher don't have to be on the rubber. So, for example, Jose Ramirez got called out for a strike violation. He didn't get in the box for 8 seconds because he saw a pitcher. He was behind on the mound.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, it's not ready. I'm not. So he stood and like when he got in, the pitcher walked up. He got in. He was already 6 seconds. He got a strike violation.
Yeah.
So things like that. You got to force the pitcher to be on the rubber in order for the hitter to get quicker to the box.
Well, I know now with the way the times of the games are going, it's if you guys get a rain out one day and they say, "Oh, you got to play doubleheader tomorrow," it doesn't seem like you're going to be there forever. The next
absolutely
day.
Not. Absolutely not. We have played games like we played 2 hours and 15 minutes game that would have been 3.5 hours last year. 100%. And that grind wears you out mentally. I feel like you have to be engaged in a game. You only have 3 hours. In reality, you only have 3 hours you can focus on something. Like in baseball, like imagine 3.5 hours. Like you step off, listen to your song, you batting glove, all this kind of crap. It got rid of all the extra things the players do. So you gotta get focused to play baseball. Double hitter. We played 2 of them already. One we played less than 4.5 hours.
It's crazy.
We're flying. I mean, our offense helped with that because we didn't hit very good. But I mean,
that's coming around though, don't you think?
Yeah, it's coming around. But what I'm saying is those games were quicker. We didn't hit that much.
Yeah.
But we have started games that the first 3 innings, I started gauging it. Now it's becoming interesting. I started gauging it on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Normally we played the first 3 innings. 1 hour.
1 hour. Yep.
Yeah.
That was usually the benchmark.
Yeah, the guys are starting to get their feet wet, the strike zone, whatever. We have some times that we have played the first 3 innings, 1 hour and 10 minutes, I believe. That was in 10, 15 minutes. I say, this is going to be a 3-hour game. And the umpire go, the game will catch up. The guy's going to catch up. And the next 3 innings, we played in 50.
Yeah.
So we already made up 10 minutes from the prior 3 innings. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's been It's been a lot of talk about it, and people dislike it, people like it, but I at the end of the day, I feel like it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think it will be. I'm enjoying how it's constructed. All right, let's start to wrap this up here, Sandy. Twins, you look like you guys are going to be fighting them all the way down to the end of you're about the quarter-mile pole right now.
Yeah, this is last year we kind of started a little slow too, but the Twins are like if they're healthy, they got great pitching, man. They're tough. I feel like we had that grind and the desire to be there, and we now start coming out of that slump offensively. You can see it slowly coming out now. Naylor's getting hot, and with Naylor get hot, Jose going to get better pitches to hit, and you saw Jose getting walked like 3 times intentionally. That's not going to happen if Naylor and Josh Bell start heating up, and Jose going to get better pitches to hit, and if we can create traffic, we can become the team, the aggressive team that we were in the first 3 weeks, and it's a cycle. What you do today, you might not do in the next 2 days, but you trending to get better, and that's the part we are looking forward to.
We're recording before you guys go on this trip to Chicago. Then I believe the Mets, 6 games. Just as the schedule's gone so far early in the season, do you like how it's been constructed? Do you like the way it's set up for the whole year for the most part?
This is this is a learning experience for us, playing every single team. Well, everybody is in the same boat. Everybody is.
Fewer division games.
We're going to have to play tougher teams in different divisions, and that's why you have to take advantage when you play teams that you were playing better last year. But those teams are getting better too. Detroit. The Royals are struggling right now, but they are a much better team than what they're showing. And playing the East, the American League East and the West, the Diamondback, those teams are not the way they used to be years ago. They're better. So you have to grind it out. You have to just go out there and just focus on winning series. You can't think about winning all sweeping people. You got to think about winning series.
Sandy, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Great to catch up. And all the best to you as you go forward in this life of you're a baseball lifer, baby.
That's right, man, John. I love it, and I enjoy being here in Cleveland. This is an incredible journey throughout my years here in Cleveland. And people here welcome me with open arms. When I got traded for Joe Carter, which he was like,
Joe Carter was tremendous.
I told Carl Varga, we better produce, otherwise we're gonna get booed. Produce or get booed. But it's been incredible, an incredible journey. I love it here.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
It is always a treat when I get to sit down with Sandy Alomar Jr. Throughout the years, he's been super fair to me, all of the Indians, and of course, in recent times, the Guardians have been outstanding individuals to deal with, and Sandy is right at the top of the list. There would be many times when I would be doing a live shot down at the ballpark and he would be messing with me in the background sometimes. But if there was a opportunity for me to go live with one of the players and I needed a pinch hitter, if someone else was not able to make it, Sandy always seemed to find time. And I really appreciated his professionalism. Just a great guy. Well, right now, the Guardians, according to The Athletic, in their power rankings that come out each and every week, they're tied for 19th in the league. That's the same as a week ago. And to Sandy's assertion about the stolen bases, the ability to run, the Guardians have an 86% success rate on stolen bases. They're third in the majors in that category, and they have 42 stolen bases so far this season. That is second in the league. Thank you very much to our buddy Zach Meisel of The Athletic for pointing that out. And, of course, the numbers could go up if the offense finds some kind of rhythm, and it seemed to, at least in the tail end of the series recently against the Angels at Progressive Field. Maybe they are climbing out of that abyss, as it were. Well, folks, that's it for this episode of the podcast. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share. And I hope that you will check out some of the other podcasts on the podcast network. Of course, the network that brings you so many talented podcasters. You just got many, many choices to go. The Press Play Podcast Network, like the Sable Brothers on the Baseline, Orange is Oranger, Cavaliers on the Break, Reg Eye and Rhoda, the Chase Smith Pod, and so much more. It's a great lineup. Hope you give a listen to some of those as well. That's it for the edition of this episode of the Guardians of the Land MLB Podcast. I'm your host, John Telich. We will catch you the next time around, and thanks very much for listening.